On this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone, we're going to talk about NWA's Carnyland, AEW Dark, and of course, Impact Wrestling. So we got ourselves another Tuesday wrestling. So get yourselves a cold one. We're about to start Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone. I am J-Rod here. So let's start with NWA's Carnyland. This episode has becoming more different because, as you know, NWA hasn't been doing any wrestling shows, but they're throwing this interesting segment with all the wrestlers getting involved in some sort of like a bit of a sitcom mix with comedy stuff, which is fun. I enjoyed certain segments. So this is something to entertain us for the time being until NWA gets back doing their operations, whatever they're doing, which I know many of you feel like sucks, but we can still enjoy some of the old other episodes they have done. The wrestling matches from start to finish, some of the throwback events such as NWA 70, uh, New Year's Clash, whatever they have available. But this one is going to be very interesting. So let's start with Carnyland and how this turned around. So as you know, apparently it started out with Allison Kay doing her little cliche promo 101, but she gets interrupted by Ziki Dice saying that there's a rumor going around about something. The rumor that is being spread, they're saying that there'll be people getting fired or hired or whatever. So basically, much of the episode is more of the rumor kind of thing, kind of like what you hear when you're in high school or at work or in college or whatever. There's always a rumor. So much of the entire episode, it's all about the bloody rumor. No one knows what to expect. The next thing we see is, some segments with breaking news, such as Joe Galley and, of course, Stu Bennett. And then we jump into James Storm. He said that he was the most wanted man in Virginia. Yeah, that's why they call him the Cowboy. So that's why. Then we have this thing with May Valentine saying she has like this 100% pure hand sanitizer. Yeah, the kind of stuff like this. So I don't know. I thought that was like a bit off topic, but yeah. But here's the best part. If you all know Tim Storm, he's a school teacher. So he has a class with this guy named Kyle, and then there's Marty Bell who was there. Now, Kyle is the one guy who is boring in the class, who wants to use the bathroom, but Tim Storm told him no because he's bored. So that's how it ended. But Marty Bell raises her hand saying this has nothing to do with Abraham Lincoln, even though that's the subject. She tells about the rumor. And Tim's like looking at his phone, class dismissed. So basically, the rumor started to spread. So everybody wants to know what in the hell is going on. What rumor? So that's been the entire time. And then we have Thunder Rosa getting on the phone telling everybody, hey, there's a rumor going around. So basically, everybody's getting on it. Marty Bell, we had this therapist who started talking with Sal Renora, saying that he was hearing a rumor that he could get fired. But the therapist named Rose Hathaway said, Sal, you're not even employed. How can you get fired if you're not even working? And that's a good point. So basically, the rumor's still spreading about what's going on. And then we jump in with the wrestler's dad, where Nick Aldis is talking about his son. His son's not even paying attention. He's on his phone. You know how kids are these days. You lend them your phone so they can play little video games or watch cartoons, whatever's in there. And Nick Aldis is telling his story about, I think this is when he was back with TNA. Remember, he was known as Magnum at the time. And he was talking about Sting, the British invasion that he was in, the stable faction. So all of this and that, but his son didn't pay attention. You can say he has ADD, but he doesn't. He just doesn't want it. He's just a kid. Then we jump in with more breaking news. As always, the rumors still spreading around as always. Then Josephus, if you all recall, I haven't seen him for a while. He does this thing called CBNB, kind of like the Airbnb. Those type when you travel, we see many people use the Airbnb wherever it's available. You just pay for a couple of nights to stay in, but was using like one of those storage lockers, which is kind of interesting. Then we have another Monrovia unmasked. Like they're giving more of the geography. I thought it was interesting about people are still going, where the hell is Monrovia? Even Nico, he's a fan of the question mark. He goes karate, but it'll be funny. Then we jump in more strictly business, as you know. They still don't see eye to eye with Billy Corgan. They also were worried about the rumor. They don't even know what it is. Not even Nick knows. Not even Royce Isaacs. That dumb brute Tom Latimer and his girlfriend Camille. No one knows what it is. So the more and more we're getting there, then we see a little stint with Eli Drake, something to do with these characters he created. So it was kind of crazy, interesting. Now we get to the rumor. The rumor turns out that Billy Corgan is gonna start having elections for the first ever mayor of Carnyland. So basically, that's the rumor. No one's getting fired, so there's gonna be a mayor of Carnyland. And it ended with Nick Aldo's election. So he has the right idea, you know? So it's still unclear who is gonna be running mayor. Now I do know who Nick Aldis would do whatever it takes. That always was in my mind when that announcement happened. But who could be mayor? Maybe Eli Drake? Or better yet, Marty Skrull. You love to see Marty Skrull be mayor of Carnyland. I know I would. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting, even though it's not related to wrestling. At least all the wrestlers in NWA are getting along. So I like it. So I think that's it for now for this segment with NWA. We'll keep more tabs on what's going on with the NWA, but also find out when they'll be back to do live events. So I'll be right back. Alright, so we're here for AEW Dark. So let's talk about this one. But before it goes, it starts out with an interesting little segment, a little speech. As you all know what happened this past Saturday for Double or Nothing. Brian Cage made his debut alongside his newly mentor, teacher, advisor, Taz, who we all know he's currently the commentator for AEW Dark. Now, Taz made it perfectly clear to Excalibur that he will not talk about his relationship about Taz throughout the entire episode. He made that perfectly clear because this is not about his relationship with Cage at this point, which is true. So basically, you don't hear that all day. Now let's get to the action. The first match was a a tag team match between the Dark Order members John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus the Natural Nightmares Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall alongside Brandy Rhodes. Now, this is the first time these guys are together again ever since Dustin actually got his life almost taken away by Lance Archer. Basically, the match was going well throughout the entire time, but something weird happened. As you all recall, the bunny Allie shows up, dressed up all in red, like a real nice outfit, but shows up eating a green apple. It doesn't make sense. And QT Marshall was unfocused on what's going on, so it's still unclear what is going on, what angle they're going with. We do know that the Natural Nightmares are trying to make their way known presence to the themselves to be part of the tag team ranking. They're still got a long way to go, but it's still going to happen. But luckily for us, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes took the victory on this one, so I can't wait to see more what's going to happen. But the whole thing with Ali, that is something we still don't know what is about. But I will stay close to this as much as possible. We may see it on AEW Dynamite tomorrow or the next Dark. So it's still unclear what's going on. So the next match we have is Michael Nakasawa versus Brandon Cutler. Now, if you all recall this, Brandon Cutler is still winless. He still hasn't made a victory. Michael Nakasawa, he was able to win some matches here and there, but this one was interesting. As you all recall, Michael Nakasawa is the master of the Turkish oil style wrestling. Now he was when Cutler grabbed him like this. You remember he goes, so he tries to pull out, but referee Bryce grabbed the oil and tosses it. He had another spare, but Brandon grabbed it and tossed it. But this one you see, but this particular match, you get to see a bit of a more of aggressive Brandon Cutler. Like he was out to destroy Michael. This is a different side. But if you recall what happened on Being the Elite, he said that he's getting tired of these losses and some things may have to change. And I don't know if this is it. And he did got busted open. Now he has no clue what's going on in his mind. He was so close in winning, but he let the best of them actually lose the match to Michael Nakasawa. Now, when this happened, when his loss officially happened, here comes the Liberians, Peter Avalon and Leva Bates. Peter is still making his trying to make fun of him, saying that, haha, you still lost. But he thinks he has a better chance against Jungle Boy. But we all know that's not true. So he called out Jungle Boy. Now, much of this match was amazing, but Brandon Cutler, he spent the entire time of this match watching with on the commentary side with Taz and Excalibur, which was good. And he was rooting for Jungle Boy to win because he wants to see how he knows that there is no way he could beat Jungle Boy, even though Cutler himself lost against him. So, but it's interesting how all of this turns out. But frankly, there's a moment where the Leva Bates shows up, and here comes Marco Stunt and Luchasaurus. So Luchasaurus has her on her shoulders. Marco Stunt did something first time ever. He kissed Leva Bates right on the lips. Yeah, it was like the most shocking ever. So it was the first time he's ever done it. I'm like, I don't know where that's gonna be, but it was funny. But this kind of lead to a distraction with Peter Avalon, and Jungle Boy managed to put him in a submission. Really interesting maneuver called the SGW, something like that, where he looks like he put like these leg locks on the ankles, kind of similar like the figure four, but he twists his body and grabs, the neck of Peter Avalon. So, result of that, he tap out by submission, and Peter Avalon is also winless. Now, please, for once, AEW, just put these two in the same match. Stop competing who's gonna be who has the most wins. That's how it should be. Next match we have Sempertico versus the Fallen Angel and the Ring General Christopher Daniels. Now, this match was a bit more different to Christopher. He brought a bit of the aggressive side of him because we've been seeing him on the coaching side of Kazarian and Sky, and it was good. I liked the match; it turned out great, and of course he pulled out the win with that one move, the world's best moonsault, and I love his moonsault. It's always been the best. I enjoyed it, so he picked up the victory. The next match we had is a tag team match between these guys, John Scholar, Brady Pierce versus two Jersey boys, Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Much of this match was dominated by both Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. We still don't know what they're going to call themselves as a tag team, but they're undefeated, in case you're wondering. But it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I got to see it. I think to see both Joey and Sonny being a tag team, maybe permanently. I'm not sure. So we don't know, but they did pick that victory, so that means they're still undefeated. Hopefully, we get to see them in the tag team rankings somewhere down the line in the future. The next match is another tag team, Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc versus Tony Donati, Fabio Andre. I'll just skip. those Sabian and Havoc won. Surprise, surprise. Next match is Warlow versus Grim. That match was like a monster behemoth, but Warlow is just too much for Grim, so he won that match. Then we had Lee Johnson versus Boom Boom Cole Cabana, Boom Boom Cole Cabana, and this one was an interesting match, really fun. Uh, of course, Colt won as always. Most of these matches they throw in just wrestlers we don't normally see all the time. And then we had a women's match between Kaylin King versus Penelope Ford. This one was a good match. I have to say I'm pretty surprised how it turns out. Great, but of course we have Kip Sabian got in the way, tried to ensure Penelope wins. So Penelope picked up the victory on this one. Then we get to our main event, another tag team, Best Friends, with Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy versus Alan Angels and Sean Dean. This one was a good one too. And you see Orange still being the coach or manager, whatever he was doing. He was just chilling out as always. And it was a good match. Best Friends picked up the victory. But once the match was over, Bryce was trying to get him back in the ring. And he was raising Bryce's hand, but he's like, no, you raised their hands. So basically, he was having fun with the ref. It was good. But it was a good show. I'm not going to lie. There were some good matches I enjoyed, but we'll see what's going to happen for next week on Dark. But tomorrow, let's see what's going to happen for Dynamite. So I hope you guys are ready for that. So let's move on to Impact Wrestling right about now. The last thing we're going to do is Impact Wrestling. This one has become interesting. As you all know, they're still continuing with the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title, which is currently in Tessa Blanchard's hand, despite of Moose's claims that he's the true champion. So let's start with the first match, which is the number one contenders between Ace Austin and Hernandez. So they both won their respected brackets maybe a week or two ago. Ace Austin joined because of Ken Shamrock. He was brutally attacked by Michael Elgin and all this and that. But this match was important. It was great to see a bit of different dynamics. We see now Ace Austin, who was the top X division, now making the play for the World Heavyweight title. So that's the world title. So we're pretty much excited. Much of this match was going Hernandez's way, but as always, as Ace Austin, he always has tricks up his sleeves, and he won again through that. So Ace Austin advanced, so he will be in the finals against whoever wins in the main event of that night between Michael Elgin and Trey of the Rascals. Then we see the whole thing. As you all know, Cody Deaner put out a match between the North to be at the Deaner compound, which is gonna be interesting. Was like one of those film set types events or scenes or whatever you want to call it, but it was so great. Then we had Johnny Swinger. As you all know, Johnny Swinger, he acts like he thinks he's part of the bigger picture, especially when it comes to Chris Bay. He thinks they're friends, that they understand each other. Chris Bay has that mindset where it's like, what the hell are you talking about? You can tell by the look of like he stirred things up between both he and William Mack, even though they're not friends. Even though swingers mind they act like they do. So that's how it rolls. And then we had the next. Then we have where the North were on the way to the Diener compound. Now they get to the sign and they're like, they can know how to spell a Diener name, but they can't spell compound. They spelled it Compund instead of Compound. They were greeted by some Diener, I don't know who it is, but he just left. And they're like, hmm? It kind of let them drawing. I just can't believe how that went down. And then we have a little message from Michael Elgin, who claims that he will squash Trey and he will fulfill his destiny to be world champion, which It's what he's been desiring ever since a year ago when he attacked Brian Cage for the title, and now he feels that he's getting one step closer. So he's the guy who could be potential to win the title. Then we go to the match between Chris Bay along with Johnny Swinger versus Cousin Jake of the Deaners. This match was good. I mean, pretty much you see a bit more of Cousin Jake's aggressiveness, where he was able to win, but apparently no. Johnny Swinger, as sleazy ball that he is, he always found a way to weasel his way in to get involved. And then um, Chris Bay even used one of Willie Mack's moves, so he's sending a message. Now, Chris Bay is in line for an X Division Championship title, but we don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm excited to see that. But of course, Chris Bay won the match thanks to Johnny Swinger. But once they beat him, actually, Johnny Swinger continues to beat up Cousin Jake, but here comes Willie Mack on his defense. This is far from over from um, Willie Mack and of course Chris Bay and Swinger. So that's what's gonna happen. We'll see what's gonna happen. Then we have a little interview with Raju, who, as you all know, he the Desi Hit Squad's no more, so he's the last Desi to be there. He gets interrupted by Chase Stevens, and Chase Stevens is trying to show him, just because, like, what's this and that. So he's trying to get under his skin. But in reality, it did not work that way. But oh, sorry, my head's hurting a little bit, but I'll be fine anyway. So next week, Chase Stevens is gonna face him, even though they think he's not that he was smart enough to plan it, but he wasn't, or maybe he did. You may never know. Then we have a knockouts match between Kimberly and Havoc. Now, if you recall, a week ago, Kimberly won the match using the crown jewel, which is the brass knuckles. Now, there was still that open question that happened a few weeks ago with Nevaeh, who shows up whenever Havoc was doing her matches. It's still unclear whether they're friends, allies, enemies, frenemies, whatever. So this match was like a rematch of what happened between Havoc and Lee. But it turns out now explains a bigger picture. Now, when Lee had the brass knuckles hidden somewhere in the ring, here comes Nevaeh and interrupts, so the match ends in no contest, and she and Havoc continues to beat down Kimberly. So now it's been confirmed that both Nevaeh and Havoc are now are a team together. So this is something that is still unclear. Now, for a while, Madison Rain won't give the story what's going on. So we hopefully get to see what's going to happen. So no contest on that match. Then we have a little segment between Tasha Steelz, Kyrie Hogan. They bump into Kylie Ray and she apologizes to them, but they were treating her badly, and all of a sudden Kylie was trying to apologize and Susie shows up, tries to say that she's bad, and they beat them both down, unaware to them that Susie's transforming to her dark side, Su Young. So basically, we still don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully next week we get to see those Kylie Ray and, of course, Kylie Ray and Susie teaming up against Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. So that I'm still expecting. Now, the next thing we see more of the Diener compound. No one knows what the hell is going on. Not even the North understood what's going on. So it's kind of like bizarre. They're living in a hillbillies compound. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, of course. Then we have the Chris brothers, or should we say OVE. We still don't know what's gonna happen to them. So Joseph P. Ryan of Cancel Culture shows up talking to them. And of course, they're still talking about what happened a couple weeks ago when it came to Crazy Steve. And of course, Joseph P. Ryan is still finding Crazy offensive. So he said he would like to have them both on ringside. So basically, it is a possibility that we may see the Chris brothers, both Jake and Dave, join Cancel Culture. We don't know how this will play out, but it will be interesting how it's going to be played out. Excuse me. Now we jump into the tag team match, which is the North versus the Deaners. Cody Deaner versus a family relative named Wheels. Now, at first, it was so funny. They thought it was this guy who was a wheelchair named Wheels. That's not Wheels. And then you see a woman in a tractor. And, of course, Ethan Page like all happy. He's like, I can deal with that. That's not Wheels. And then here comes the actual. He's like a big guy. That match was so funny. It was so hilarious. But, of course, like, you don't know what to expect. So basically, they're beating outside the ring, inside the ring, in and out, in and out. The Deaners were everywhere, supporting their cousins. And then there was a moment where Josh Alexander did left Cody Deaner on top of the cart of a semi, but he was able to get out and help. But apparently, they get help from that weasel from Battle Arts Academy and gave him a low blow to ensure that they win, and he had his referee, and this was over. Now we see an interview between TJP and Fahad Bal. So we do see that they feel like they are entitled for tag team shots, but the Rascals, Wentz and Dez, they have something to say about that. So basically, they are also entitled too. We may see those two teams face off next week, so I'm excited for that. And then we go to the Treehouse, a really interesting segment. So everybody in this in Treehouse, the Rascals, they all have a number one contenderships. Out of nowhere, here comes Moose. As you all know, Moose has the title, and Moose is like telling Trey that he's up for line for a TNA World Championship. Now everybody's like, what? Like they know that title is nothing. Like it's not even active, but Moose acts like it is. Like it's important, but it's not. And that kind of made laughter for the Rascals because there's no way they're gonna face Moose for that title because Trey is not gonna face Moose for that title. That's not the main title, but he acts like it is. That he wants to put the title on line because he wants to prove he's the best. But not until Tessa comes back. We'll just wait and see that's gonna happen. Then we jump into a little flashback with Moose versus Cody in 2017, who will be the Impact's Grand Slam champion, and of course Moose won by split decision. And that was a crazy. Now the next thing happens in this episode of Impact, the surprise and very soon debut of former NXT star Deonna Purrazzo. Now, if you all recall, Deonna Purrazzo was in fact amongst the mass releases that took place this past April on April 15th. Now, Deonna Purrazzo, it was reported that Deonna Purrazzo for months has been asking for her release, and now she was officially released. Recently, she hasn't been making no wrestling appearances, but she has been making podcast appearances, video chatting with other news outlets, other places, and they were willing to talk to her. And she kind of explained that there's two promotions in her mind that would fit for her. One is AEW. For reasons, Britt Baker is one of her closest friends. Two, great talent there. And then the next promotion she did say it's optional was one that could be is Impact Wrestling. She did stated that Impact Wrestling does have the best women's wrestling outside of the WWE chain, which is true. Now, some of you WWE fans like, no, that's a whole load of horse shit. They're not. Well, in reality, they do. You can talk to any fan who watches Impact or fans who are just pro wrestling fans in general, like myself. They do have the best wrestling women's wrestling in Impact. AEW, they're nowhere there, but they're getting there. But it is. So we may see her soon doing her debut. I'm excited for her to be there. I have to say, she will do great in Impact. There is no denying. She has been in Impact before, but she wasn't there for long. Then we see a little segment with Rosemary and Johnny E. Bravo. So basically, Johnny E. Bravo still feels like Taya Valkyrie treats him like trash every single time. He tries to do what he can to help her, but Taya Valkyrie still treats him badly. So Rosemary is willing to take him under his wing, which, of course, Johnny E. Bravo has no problem with. So this is interesting to see. I'm very excited. Now let's jump into the main event. We have the semifinals of the number one contendership for the Impact World Championship. This one's between Rascal members Trey and Unbreakable Michael Elgin. Now this match, it looked more like Michael Elgin could have won. But Trey, I have to say, he did excellent performance holding on his own against Michael because this is where he had to use a bit of his speed against a guy who's strong. So he did use some great maneuvers I enjoyed, but he was not willing to give up quickly. But there were moments like Michael was so close. But the match ended in a very interesting segment. Michael had everything under his hand, but out of nowhere, ICU shows up, and that is Sami Callihan, who hasn't forgotten what happened the last time. So basically, Michael Elgin took the ball off his eyes off the ball, and Trey was able to pick up the victory. This was the biggest upset ever. So basically, Michael Elgin is out of the running to get a title shot, but we all know where this is going to go. If you did watch it, this is going to lead between a feud with Sami Callihan. The way I'm going to see it, he's going to go around saying that Sami destroyed everything, destroyed his destiny to become champion. But it is what it is. So we're going to see for the finals coming next week between rivals before during the X Division. We're talking about Ace Austin and Trey, who hasn't forgotten the rivalry between them last year, but now it seems the rivalry will be renewed. Who will win that match to face Tessa for the Impact World title? So let's just wait and see what's going to happen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang!